Good evening. The Yahoos today, of course, were on at Randwick. It was Black Caviar Day, I suppose we'll call it. And she got home. She got home, and of course, uh, bookies were willing to take risks with her. There was one captain on the fence, let you lay $1.18 on, let you lay the $1.18 on, and plenty of $1.16. And she started at $1.16, and Nolan he rode a great race. Anyway, the track there today was dead. The rail was in the normal position, and of course, um, unfortunately for leaders, they were in a bit of froth and bubble, as they say, because of the wind factor. The wind was coming out of the northeast, and when they were coming down the side, of course, it took care of the leaders. You could be well, Mac. It sat in the distance race. It sat behind the lead on the fence, but just enough to get that bit of a break, and never left it and went up on the inside. So I suppose his run was a bit better than it looked, but you couldn't lead and win on the fence. And the first race, of course, the favourite, Il Cavallo, of course, it led. It had barrier one, ridden by Black Caviar's rider Nolan, trained by Moody. It led on the fence, and of course, Stipes were asking all questions. It pulled up with the poor recovery rate, but the poor recovery rate was the wind factor taking care of it. It led on the fence, and we put it up a 5-4 on chance, and we got out to 205 on the fence. It started evens every board, and it was quite liable, but the well-backed Safeguard, it got the cash, the second favourite. It drew the barrier 8 in a field of 9. It went back to second last, and clever Kieran McAvoy, he didn't go real close to the fence, but he wasn't far off it, switching back inside runners, turning for home, and then easing off heels late, hung out under a little bit of pressure, but it was a good win. But he did go back and had the cover. In this first race, they said there was 105.7 on the screen, and not much less in the marketplace, about 104. It was a really good crowd there today, and we were able to write plenty of bets. But the winner went up a 9-4 second pick, and got out to as much as plenty of $3.50, even $3.60. Came into about $3.20 at one stage, but got back out to about $3.40 towards the end of betting. There was a little bit of money for a few roughies. The favourite and the winner, by far the best backed. The second race, well, it went straight to the lead, Tatra, so that was the end of it. And this winner, Toy Dini, as Mark Sheen said, since it's been gelded, this horse, it came back and had one run after a spell, then trotted in last start at Rose Hill, and it was ridden the perfect race by bold Blake Shin, settled down in third last position, and he had the race won on the turn, very similar to Rose Hill when it won last start. He just came wide, he rolled up the top of the rise, the race was all over. He joined the leaders, hadn't gone for it. When he did, he pressed the button, it got away, it won by 3 3/4 lengths, but flattered by the track by the same token. In this race, the figures were skinny. Only on the screen, there was only 101.2. In the marketplace, a couple less, or 3 less, about 99 we got. Flying Schnitzel, you wouldn't see it on the flux. There was plenty of $5.50, and also Tatra, there was $4.60 given about Tatra early in betting. I must say, it started favourite Tatra. It was $4.20 out of $4.60, back in to start $3.50, clear favourite, $3.40 even, whereas the winner Toydini, we put it up the 2-1, the 2-1 favourite, $3 the field, we said, and it got out. It was a big result for the captains because it got from 2s to 13-4, $3 out to $4.20 begging at the finish. You couldn't give it away, and I would dare say that the captains had a big result. Flying Schnitzel opened up the 13-4 equal second pick, got out to $5.50 as I say, and came back in and started $5. The winner trotted in, and the well, it was on the fence also, Flying Schnitzel. So I suppose you could excuse its run for being there, but the rider did say it was distanced out, running the mile out. The vet ran his hand over it, no problems. And as I say, you can forgive Tatra because it led on the fence, and the winner, even though it trotted in, it got the breaks. Race 3, and well, this was sensationally backed. I had a bad result in this race. I must be mad. Royal Descent, we put it up a $7 chance, got out to as much as $7.50 on a few boards, but it only started $6, came into $5.50 at one stage, but got back out towards $6 towards the end of betting, and it sat in 6th position, steered by Nippy Nash, and he switched back inside, runners turning for home, and he went away and won easy at the finish by 2.5 lengths. Now leading in this race was, unfortunately, I Own the Lead, Queenstown, and that of course was the end of Queenstown once it found the bunny because of the wind down the side, and it dropped out and got beat 8.5 lengths at the finish, finishing about 7th or 8th position. As I say, the winner got a good run in behind them. Gold Opponent did a little bit of work to get up outside the lead, but the winner, it had a kilo more than any other runner, or 2 kilos more than any other runner in this race. Carried 59, the limit 54, and it was a very good effort. There are a few honest runs from quite a few other runners in the race. No real hard luck stories. If you ran the race over again, the winner would be clear favourite. It got a good run, unimpeachable. It started the 7-2 favourite. We put it up 11-4, about $3.70, and it got out to as much as $4.60, and it loomed up for a couple of strides on the rise as if it would go on, but it finished up running third, beaten 3.3 lengths, and it loomed up to, as if it was going to win, but it didn't go on with it. And by the same token, the horse that ran second in this race, Express Power, it wasn't a bad run because it was made a little bit of use of early in the race to get into a position, and then it got to the lead after topping the rise, and it fought on very well. But as I said, the winner was the best run in the race. Now we got to race 4, and unfortunately it ran. Well, Julian's, of course, we saw. I think I might have commented. It's easy now, but I did say that Julian's got all the favours last start at Rose Hill, especially when Tremac, who finished up winning this race, isn't it ironic? Tremac was a scratching at the barrier last start, and it was always going to make it a bit more difficult for Julian's at Rose Hill. Today, I stood Julian's for kicking, knowing that I Own the Lead would go to the lead, and know that the wind would take care of it. I did also lay this favourite, Hathras. Thought it was naturally going to be very hard to beat, but thought the odds were a little bit skinny, and I was quite happy to see after they went out of the back straight, the pumper, unfortunately, it was starting to tug a bit on him. It was over racing Hathras, and he was on the outside of Julian's all the way till they got down the side, and I was quite happy to. I said, well, that's the end of Julian's once it was leading. But then Hathras went around and it found the fence, and I said, well, God, that's going to make it a bit more difficult for it, which it did. And while this was all happening, it never moved from the position it was in when from the early part of the race, and that was the winner, Tremac. It was always third on the fence, never went around a runner. It hung under pressure. The favourite on the turn, Julian's dropped out. Then he got beat 35.6 lengths, and it got a stitch. And Tremac, it got up along the 18 pence, and I suppose it would have had a bit of wind, but not as much as the leader coming down the side, wind effect, but it was still able to go up on the inside and win from the 100 to 1 chance rank outsider. Although Saintly Sun, you wouldn't see it in the flux. It was 100 to 1 as well. But Blood Brother, it settled down in third last position, and it came around the field before the turn down the outside. It loomed up as if it was going to get the chocolates, but it couldn't catch Tremac and failed by 0.2 of a length. And after getting a good run, sort of midfield, Alinia Tide, it held on for third, beaten 1.7. And they got right away from the others. Maroon had every possible chance. It was given a charm run in fifth position by horseman Huey Bowman, and it just it plugged to the line. The winner was a good, solid win. Race 5, they said there was 100. Now go back to that race. I think I told you what's the difference. 100 in this race here, race 5. There was 102.1 on the screen, and we only got, might have been a couple less in the marketplace. We got around about the. We played Swire with the punters. We about a neat 100, and I was filthy on myself here because I thought Gay would have jerried that the wind was coming down the side, and I laid the favourite overreach, but the winner was my worst way, and I'm absolutely filthy on it because as I say, I thought they would have jerried with overreach, not to lead into it, but they did. They might have thought the fence was no good. And I noticed that he stayed a good 3 off the fence all the way. It wasn't the fence that was no good. It was, of course, the wind. And Overreach went straight to the lead. Sitting on its outside was Villaverde, who went fairly ordinary. Tucked in behind them was Thump from Barrier 1, and on its outside was Scandiva. Scandiva in the 1-1 position. Well, of course, they turned for home. The wind, and even though he was off the fence, had the effect on the favourite. And sitting well back in the field was Guelph, and it was sensationally backed from. It opened up. We put it up at $10 chance, 9 to 1. It got out to $12. It only started $9.50. Very hard to get. I laid it a really good bet against it as they were going into line at $10, which I shouldn't have had up like a fool, but I did, and it sailed down the outside from a long way back, but had the track favours in its favour. It had got past Scandiva, who would have been a fantastic result for the captains. It was 40 to 1 out to 70 to 1 Scandiva, and it had raced up to the favourite, who even when they topped the rise, he cruised up the rise, but when he went for her, she didn't put the gap on them, and it didn't take too long for Scandiva to get up on her outside and finish in front of her. They beat the others easy. The margins were 0.8 by 1.3 lengths. She got beat, the favourite. And as I say, Guelph came down the outside and got the biscuits. We put it up Overreach a 2 to 1 on chance. It eased out to $1.55, and you could have got $1.55. Well, started at $1.40, and they were laying the $1.40 on, but not for a great amount of section. And I suppose if you went back the dollar or $1.45 or $1.55, you lay it again. But like a fool, I didn't, and it was the winner was actually worse than the favourite for me. That's about all I'd say in that race. And that was the size, of course. Race 6. Now they said on the screen there was a fat 110.9. I must admit it was all right. There was only about 3 less in the marketplace, and this race was won by Sky Rush, very well backed. Even though it blew in the market, I laid it all the way out to $18, put it up a $15 chance, a $16 chance, 15 to 1, and I laid it all the way out, and I was $18. They took it off me when they jumped, and I must admit it wasn't a very good result for me. The second place getter here, Alma's Fury, the winner came off Alma's Fury. Alma's Fury was sitting in about 4th position, getting a cosy run, and Sky Rush, ridden by Bold Blake Shin, he was on Hugh Bowman's back, and she sprinted a little bit too good for Alma's Fury, although Alma's Fury was, he put about 3/4 of the length on her, and then Alma's Fury came back at the finish to be only beaten 0.2 of a length, doing a little bit better than her on the line. But as I say, that turn of foot that Sky Rush has got was enough to get a 3/4 of a length break, and also hold on and win by a slender margin. Now, of course, going to the lead in this race was Havana Ray, so that was totally against it, and on its outside was Mahurasa. It was the favourite in a very wide betting race. We gave it started. The betting was $6.50 the field, 11 to 2 the field. Mahurasa opened up. Mahisara opened up a $5 chance, but got out to $6.50. I laid it at $6 at one stage. I had to wind it off for a good bit of section, and as I say, it sat outside the leader, and it's not very strong, and it gave in. The first and second place getters, they did, I must admit, have very good runs. They were in the perfect spot, and when they topped the rise, both getting up to the leaders. But by the same token, even though they did have the good runs, they found the line strongly, and it was Raspberries sat back midfield off the fence in the right position. It finished up running 4th, and it's sitting at about 6 hole. Illo, who was slightly held up in the run, it should have, I suppose, finished a little bit closer, but they more or less had their chances. The one that was affected was Havana Ray leading, of course. Then we came to race 7. Well, it's very easy now, of course, with the Derby coming up, and of course knowing that Black Caviar in the last race has got barrier 1, and the wind was still fairly stiff. I was saying to myself, well, of course, Nolan will he'll jerry to the situation with the inside, and he'll be able to get off and place her where he more or less wanted to, which he did. But and you knew that well, she was the opening quote of an 8 to 1 on chance, and she got out to, as I say, I let you lay $1.18 on a 9 to 2 on chance, or 11 to 2 on chance, and it's a done deal. Of course, it was going to always be back in the field, getting a good wind break, whereas you knew that Hippopus would be up near the lead. I own the lead, but it didn't actually lead. It sat 3rd. It led on the fence in the Derby, Blood Buzz, Ohio, and it sat on its outside, Hippopus, and making a mid-race move in the Derby was Kingdoms, of course, who stuck on very well for 3rd. How to beat that at Canterbury that day. Anyway, and it went around and led, so its run was good because it copped a bit of wind down the side. But going back to I'm going around in circles here, but going back to the betting, they let you lay one bookie on the fence, let you lay $1.35 on. It's a done deal. We put it up a threes on chance. It got out to $1.35 given. It was quickly laid on, and then they laid the $1.30 on, and at the finish they took the $1.28. They took the $1.26, and it was very hard at the death to get the $1.24. So starting as more or less a 4-to-1 on chance, and it simply was always going to get the wind cover coming down the side, and the New Zealand rider, of course, James McDonald, he like he did at Rose Hill last start, he just made a quick move coming down the side, ambled up to them out widest on the track coming to the turn, and when they topped the rise, they were all under pressure, and he still had a mile of horse underneath him. He more or less hadn't gone for it. He set up the last 50 metres or so and won easily by 6 lengths. The second favourite, Filippi, coming from back in the field, getting into that position, beating Kingdoms. I suppose, as I say, it's easy now, but I would rather have been laying the $1.35 on, or the threes on, it's a done deal, than I would laying the 5-to-1 on, or the 11-to-2 on Black Caviar in the last. Then we came to race 8. They said there was a 108.8 on the screen, and only maybe 2 or 3 less in the marketplace. And as Mark Sheen quoted last start at Rose Hill, and he's possibly right, that this horse Arenosa did get the favours of the track the way it was playing. Is most probably is greatly improved, this horse. Excuse me. Of course, it was always going to be the bunny in this race, Karuta Queen. I bet $14 for a good bit of section, and 13 and 12, and laid it all the way through the betting. He knew it was going to go to the lead, only knows one thing, and it went straight to the lead, and of course the wind took care of it. She dropped out, little Karuta Queen, and when they swung for home, sitting on her outside was Altair, who made her go a little bit fast earlier. Satin Shoes was tucked in behind them. In the 1-1, getting a good run was Ladies Angel, who was well backed. And when they topped the rise, Dystopia, trained by Waller, also having the winner Arenosa, it was sort of midfield, in the right position from the Elliott Drew barrier 11, and it just ambled up the rise, joining the leaders, and you're of course saying to yourself, well, when he's ambled up, Horseman Bowman's going to press the button now and it'll accelerate. Well, he did press the button, but it didn't accelerate as quick as he wanted to, and it finished up missing the hole. It finished up running fourth. The winner, Arenosa, was about 2 lengths behind him, and the brilliant Brendan Aldala, of course, he had gone for Arenosa before Huey had gone for Dystopia, but the grey, it just kept on coming. And this horse went away and won by 4.3 lengths. Middlely, it got into the exact right section of the track, but Dystopia was in the right section of the track, plus quite a few other runners. And this horse just, it strolled in. It finished up winning by 4.3 lengths. Miss Stella Bell, it ran second. It was copped a little bit of a check in the run and was also held up at a vital stage. Should have finished closer, but no way in the world could have beat the winner. And running third, coming from well back in the field, having 16 barrier out of 16 runners, was For a Rainy Day. The track bias helping it get into third position right down the outside. And then we came to the lucky last, and it was good to see the mare get home. It went straight to the lead, Rain Affair. Now in this race, they said there was 106.9 on the screen. It was only a bit skinnier in the marketplace. We only got about 101. I'll tell you the flux in the Black Caviar's race. Hay List was 40s into 30s, back out to 50s. Bell Sprinter went from $11 or $10 out to as much as 15, I saw, but only started 13. Rain Affair went from 30 out to 50. Decision Time was 80 out to 151. Atomic Force went from 200 out to 500. That's as far as the boards go. They only go to 500. They used to go to 1,001 once. And then there were bookies, and of course, in the old days, the boards only went to 1,001. They never laid them at 1,001. They used to get a ticket, fold it in half, and write 2,001 on the ticket, and stick it on the board. If they couldn't get something out of it, the boards only go to 500 to 1 these days. Atomic Force, it was 200 out to 500, as I say. Title, it was 200 out to 300, back into 200. How Much Do You Love Me went from 100 out to 200. On the Lookout went from 300 out to 500. The favourite, we put it up $1.12 and got out to, as I say, $1.18 one captain lets you lay on the fence. But it did start $1.16 on the fence on 3 or 4 boards. See Siren, it went from, you wouldn't see it, it went from 21 out to 61, back into 41. And Epaulette, the 3-year-old, the only 3-year-old in the race, who finished up running second, coming from back in the field, inside runners. So it's obviously come back all right, Epaulette, or the others might be all a bit has-beens. It went from 40, Epaulette, out to 60, but back into $41. And as I say, it led Rain Affair. Nolan didn't want to get caught on the fence. After they'd gone, a couple of furlongs, he switched around heels, and he got him. He was in between runners. He was in between Hay List and How Much Do You Love Me, and there was a little bit of slight buffering, but he just got the mare to the middle of the track, more or less, turning for home, where she got clear of the other two, and she just raced up, went straight to the lead, and she couldn't have gone any faster. She ran 69.65. They came home. The sectionals coming home there today were all there was only one runner, I think, broke 36, wasn't there? Coming home, that was Aeronosa, but ran 35.08, I think. She came home in 36.09. Pace was on all the way. She ran 69.65, which was a lot quicker than Aeronosa ran 70.5. She ran 69.65, so they went out faster, of course, and it was a brilliant win. I went and had a look at her when she came back into the new enclosure through the tunnel, and she was a little bit wet, but she's a mighty mare. So it's great to see champions win, and it topped off the day very well for the crowd that turned up. So anyway, next week, of course, is Doncaster Day next Saturday at Randwick. We've got a stack of meetings in between then today and then. So I hope you won there today, and keep your health going. Good evening.